Thank you. Hey, good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everyone to the July 16th Harbor District Commission meeting. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Here.
Commissioner Brennan? Commissioner Holsinger?
Here.
Commissioner Tucker? President Caravano?
Here. Thank you. This time we have an opportunity for the public to address the commission on any items that are not on the agenda. And I do not have any speaker slips for this part of the agenda, so we can continue on to staff recognition. Do we have staff recognition, please?
Not from manager.
Okay.
There is one. Sorry, I didn't get there quick enough. There was a letter of appreciation. It's in my actual item number 18 packet, or board report. And it is, we received a really nice letter from one of our people that we rescued, Edward Kelly and Eileen, I believe it is Kelly. And they wrote a very nice letter thanking the crew that had to go out there. And they were out with family and kids and ran out of fuel or had some engine problems, and the staff went out and retrieved them, and they were really appreciative of doing that. So that would be and that was for Kerry Smith, who's a deputy harbor master, as well as David Arrington, deputy harbor master at Pillar Point.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Harbor Master, for that. I did read the letter and is very grateful for the successful rescue of the vessel and the family. And thank you for sharing that with us. As part of the staff recognition, I would like to, at this time, introduce our new district counsel and law firm, Stephen Miller from Henson Bridget. Welcome here. And if you could say a few words.
Great. Thank you very much, President Caravano. Good evening, commissioners. I'm really glad to be here. I will only take a very few seconds to just let you know how glad I am to be here, and how that while I am, as I mentioned when we first met, mindful that I represent the district, I'm also really looking forward to working with each of you individually and having a productive relationship with each of you as we go forward. And I wanted also to reintroduce you to my colleague, Pat Miyake, who is sitting in the audience, who is here as sort of personal and professional support to me and therefore to the district also. Wanted to make sure you knew that he is here as a member of the public and certainly not charging the district for his time in being here. Also thought it would be helpful for you to know very briefly some of the transitional issues as I've gotten up to speed prior to beginning my role here on July 1st. I spent a morning at Oyster Point Marina, met your harbor master and met with your general counsel, went to your district offices, met with your staff, your management team. Feel like I met also at my office for a number of hours with your general manager. This is all before, you're not going to see any bills for any of this. This is just part of my getting up to speed. I feel like I've gotten quite familiar with the issues that are before you on the front burner, the back burner, things coming down the pike. I'm extremely grateful to Mr. Grinnell for his time in bringing me up to speed. And to the extent I'm not up to speed, it's certainly my fault and not his fault. Also had a number of conversations with your outgoing counsel, Jean Savory, who's been extraordinarily cooperative. She sent over 18 bankers' boxes full of files that I have reviewed, cataloged. Many of the contents are older historical items, but some were required some review and attention. And so I'm hopeful that from your perspective, the transition to the Henson Bridget will be a seamless one. And just really wanted to express my enthusiasm for being here, in addition to the high quality legal services that I know we can provide. I'm looking forward, and my goal would be that in time you'll come to see me and us as really sort of trusted advisors on all matters relating to legal concerns to help you achieve the goals that you have for the district. So thanks for the chance to say a few words. Looking forward to the days, months, years ahead. Thank you.
Well, thank you for those kind words, and we look forward, all of us at the Harbor District look forward to a very successful relationship with you and your firm.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, first item of business, item number 1, is under continued business, is an amendment to a contract that we have with the San Mateo County Resource Conservation District regarding water quality analysis and testing at Pillar Point Harbor. And this will be introduced by General Manager Peter Grinnell.
I have a point of order. I just wanted to ask the president to consider moving up agenda item 19. It doesn't have to be right now, but that is the only opportunity for harbor commissioners to make agenda item requests, and in the past, we decided as a board to have that at the beginning of the meeting versus at the end of the meeting, because we might not have time to get to that item, and legally, we have to be able to request items be put on a future agenda.
Okay, I appreciate your point of order, but at this time, I feel like this is my first meeting as president, and I would very much like to maintain to the schedule of the agenda, and my hope is that we will get to that in this meeting.
I also want to let you know that I have to leave the meeting early, just so you're aware of that, and I would like to request an agenda item. So by having it at the end of the meeting, that will prevent me from being able to do that. So just wanted to point that out.
What is your scheduled time of departure?
I'm leaving after agenda item 7.
Okay. So there's no time, but just when we get to item 7?
So anytime before 7, I could do it.
I mean, 7 o'clock or item 7?
I'm waiting for agenda item 7. I'm putting off what I have to do until then. I have a family event I have to go to.
Okay, so we're not under time limit, we are under an agenda.
Well, I'm under a time limit, but I'm missing what I need to be doing for my family to stay through 7.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, continuing on with item number 1, Peter, General Manager, could you please introduce this?
Yes, Mr. President. As you will recall, the Harbor Commission approved an amendment to our interagency agreement with the Resource Conservation District on June 18th to add on a new task specification for this fiscal year. At that time, the Commission, in discussing the matter, asked about some possible additional work that could be added. And so the RCD went back and prepared a updated proposal, which is attached to the staff memorandum, which responded to the Commission's interests and concerns. And so it's before you tonight for your action to basically replace the first amendment that you adopted on the 18th with this one. This one includes all of that work, plus the additional work that you had asked about of the RCD. And that led to an additional estimate of $18,000. And so all you'd be committing in approving this revised amendment would be the add-on of the $18,719 that applies to those additional items that you all requested be considered. So with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you for the report, and we have a staff report and the accounting for this increase in our agreement with the Resource Conservation District. Are there any discussion amongst the commissioners? Questions?
I believe first it'd be appropriate to have a seconded motion. If we don't have a seconded motion, we don't have anything to discuss. So I would move to approve the recommendation for a second amendment to the interagency agreement between the Harbor District and the San Mateo County Resource Conservation District to augment the fiscal year 2014-15 budget in the amount of $18,719 in compliance with the previously approved increased scope of work.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Holsinger and a second by Commissioner Brennan to approve item number 1. Are there any further discussions and questions amongst the commission?
I have a couple of questions.
Please.
So there are a number of changes here, and I noticed that one of the things that was included, and I'm having trouble finding it now, I noticed that we are going to do more sampling during, I think it's 2 months of the year. Could you explain that to the public and the board?
Yes, that was requested, and that is included in the proposal. If you look at Task 1 on page 5 of the presentation, Task 1 on Exhibit A, it states that there will be sampling done every month in 8 locations within the Inner Harbor.
Once a month, primarily?
Every month.
Once a month.
Every month is what it says. And then there will be additional harbor outfall monitoring, and this will involve monitoring all the outfalls in the harbor.
You refer to exhibit, you mean not exhibit A.
Okay, yes, to make it even clearer, if you go to Exhibit B, which is really the item before you now, what we had was the items in chronological order as mentioned in the memorandum, so that you proceed progressively. So if you go to page 10, Exhibit B, Task 1, again, you have sampling in 8 locations in the Inner Harbor. You have the harbor outfall monitoring of all the outfalls. And then there is, and that's a major item, then there's emergency spill response and additional technical assistance. And that constitutes all of the add-ons.
And I'd just like to point out that for 1 month during the dry season and 1 month during the wet season, samples will be collected 5 times rather than once that month to calculate the geometric mean for FIB species. So there'll be 2 months out of the year where we're doing a much greater collection effort, once in the dry season, once in the wet season. And I just wanted to point out that I was really glad to see that the RCD added that, and I hope we can keep moving in that direction. So just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any further questions, discussion?
Is there any public comment?
No.
Okay.
Public comment. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Holsinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Tucker? President Carvana?
Aye. Thank you. Item number 2 concerns an additional task for maritime legal services of Cox, Wooden, and Lerner. General Manager Grinnell?
Yes. We continue in our efforts to deal with federally documented vessels which are delinquent in payments or otherwise problematic in the harbor. And you will recall that we retained the firm of Cox, Wooden, and Lerner, who are experts in maritime law, to address the complexities of dealing with federally documented vessels. And so we have several additional vessels to address that have slightly different issues, one from the other, but also they are all federally documented. We also intend to have Cox Wooden provide us with what will amount to a sequence or a checklist of steps and alternatives in dealing with federally documented vessels so that we will not need to perpetually have outside marine counsel for this, but that we will be learning enough so that we can, together with our general counsel, proceed and deal with these things in the future. And so for that, we've basically recommended that we continue working with Cox Wooten for another brief round and add on an additional $5,000 to cover the expenses.
Okay, thank you.
Point of information?
Please.
Thank you. Mr. Grinnell, you said there was an additional vessel. Can you tell me the additional vessel that you're seeking these legal services on, how long they've been in arrears and for approximately what amount of money?
Well, there are several, and actually, I don't have all of those details with me. I'm going to make a note to make those available to you.
I simply want to make sure that we're being cost effective. If they're 1 month in arrears, obviously, we wouldn't want to do this, but I'm assuming that's not the case.
Correct, and your assumption is correct. These are not 1 month. Yeah. Now, I should tell you, just FYI, that one vessel that we had anticipated working with Cox Wooten on, actually, we relocated them in the harbor. And following that, they left the harbor. They took the boat out of the harbor. They still owe us money, and we'll be proceeding through other normal channels to try to collect that. As you are aware, we have a new collection agency, which seems to be more vigorous in working on this stuff. So we'll try to deal with that particular vessel and don't need to go to Cox Wooten for that one. But for the other ones we will, and I will get those details for you.
How many other vessels are we talking about right now?
Well, there are 3 at Oyster Point and 3 or 4 at Pillar, I believe.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I have a question.
Commissioner Brennan?
I recall not that long ago, we approved an emergency permit for a large vessel that was a charter type vessel. I don't remember if it was a paddle boat or big boat that came over from Alameda that there was a problem with that I thought kind of spurred this whole thing on. Is that the vessel that's now gone, or is that one still there?
No, that is not. It's still, that is the vessel that prompted us to seek outside maritime legal assistance. And essentially what happened is a potential opportunity to move ahead rapidly, but then more complications. Specifically, what that means is that that boat, which was federally documented, was investigated and found to have let its federal documentation lapse. And that opened the door for the Harbor District to take action under state law. And the recommendation from legal counsel was to proceed immediately to lien sale, which we did. And it turns out that there are complications relating to that. As we understand it at this point, they still have not resumed their federal documentation. And so we are still working on trying to get that vessel out of the harbor. And we'll keep you posted on what's happening with it.
So when you talked about some of the work that Cox Wooten was going to do with the staff to help bring the staff up to speed to maybe avoid some of these problems in the future, it sounded kind of like training. Would that include things like requiring that the federal documentation be checked before, you know, approving a permit, or like what kinds of steps are we going to take to try to prevent that sort of thing from happening going forward? Are you guys kind of coming up with a checklist of things to do, or how's this going to work?
You're really referring to 2 different things which are closely related. One is in terms of new potential tenants. We already have proceeded to tighten up our front-end investigations. And so to the extent that somebody comes in with a federally documented vessel, that would now include a more detailed investigation to find out what the state of affairs is. All right, that we don't need outside counsel for. On the other hand, what we're dealing with now is vessels in the harbors, either pillar or oyster, that have generated issues. And what we can do with federal documented vessels involves more complex actions than under state. And so on the one hand, we're seeking assistance that we need from outside counsel, but we will, along with that, have them indicate, okay, for this vessel, here's what the steps that were taken, that need to be taken to try to deal with this particular issue, because it's not all the same, it's not cookie cutter. And so there are different situations, and then there may be different alternative actions that you could take. For example, if you want to proceed to deal with a federally documented vessel and cannot do a lien sale, it's going to be much more expensive because of certain requirements and what you do. And all of that stuff is going to be written down and have at the grasp of staff, so that as we look at any individual case, we can say, oh, okay, we can go this way or we can go that way. To start with the federally documented folks, we didn't know. Beyond that, I'll, through the chair, if I may, ask if Harbor Master Grindy wants to supplement.
I think the only thing I can really suggest or state is that what's changed, I'm going to say, since our national economic drop here a few years ago, is a good amount of the credit unions and banks are now making your boats, when you buy them, when they're a sizable size boat, a documented vessel, because it's easier for them to take the boat back versus just the normal, like a car registration type sticker on a boat. So there's a lot more documented boats in the marinas, everywhere, not just here. So it's going to be a climb of an issue that's going to probably continue for a while.
So when they're federally documented, you can't move to lien sale in the same way?
It's a whole, it's two different pathways of problem. It's kind of like if you think of a tow truck company towing your boat to a yard and they can sell it after a certain period of time. With a documented boat, it sits.
Okay.
And you're stuck where you're not gaining revenue out of it as well as it's holding a space up.
Well, I appreciate the explanation, and I'm hoping that when the staff sorts through the various avenues, that we will learn from you about how that works so that we're better educated, and I think it'll help us.
If I may, that's a good suggestion, and what we can do is actually provide you at the appropriate time, once we gather all this, basic informational report that says, okay, here are the situations, here's how we would be dealing with it, so you know what staff is proceeding with, and then you can get a sense of what we might be bringing to you for possible action.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the commission on item number 2?
Well, again, I'll move for approval of the recommendation to add an additional not to exceed $5,000 to the budget for consultations with Cox, Wooten, Lerner, Griffin, Hansen, and Polos.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second for item 2. Any further discussion or questions? Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Holsinger?
Aye.
President Obama?
Aye. Okay, item number 3, augment the contract for commission facilitation for BHI Management Consulting. This requires a resolution signing, and we have a report from General Manager Grinnell. Peter, number 3?
Yes. As you know, your facilitator, Brent Ives, has been proceeding with his program of action. And he has completed his round of interviews with commissioners and selected staff. He has viewed videos of Harbor Commission meetings. He has attended at least one Harbor Commission meeting personally, and he is now ready to proceed to his next stage of work, which is attached to the staff memo, as you can see. And for the benefit of the public, what that involves is moving toward, he's got a few more interviews to do, but the main things will be to convene a board workshop, which will be an open session, to address the issues at the time. And he's proposed here that there be such a workshop both before the November election and another one after. He has also proposed that he have one or two other meetings whereby he will meet with the public. These would be public outreach sessions. No commissioners would be present. These would not be board meetings. It would just be Mr. Ives inviting interested public members to meet with him and provide their thoughts on the subject matter. So that's what's coming down the line with this. He has provided, as you can see, a schedule and budget, again, for purposes of those who don't have this in front of them. He's looking at July, August for secondary interviews, August, September for a commission workshop, as I described, an open public meeting, a post-election session similarly. And throughout this period, he says he'll schedule time with commissioners and staff as needed. And his total for this stage of work, which would involve 62 hours of his time and 6 trips, he's proposing a budget of $15,750. So that's before you now for your consideration and action.
Okay, thank you for the report. I have one public comment. Mr. John Olam, please come forward. As the practice of the Harbor District, we limit public comment to 3 minutes.
Sure.
And the clerk will signal when you have 30 seconds left.
Ready? Go. Is Mr. Ives here tonight? I thought it was really interesting that somehow the grand jury's report didn't make it to this agenda, but I would think that you'd want to make Mr. Ives aware of what he's up against. So you had a grand jury come out and cite 20 years of problems, pointed out that this process of facilitation occurred, what, a decade ago, in 2000? And it turns out, though, that one of your commissioners, Mr. Holsinger, blames 95% of all of it on Commissioner Brennan. 95% of what the grand jury found in the report contained 20 years worth of observations Mr. Holsinger blames on Commissioner Brennan. He then goes on to accuse me and a whole bunch of other people of being Occupy America and coming to these meetings and creating a sense of disease in that one of us brandished a knife at a meeting. Any of you remember that? Then you ever hear Mr. Holsinger talk about a knife being brandished by an Occupy America person who was here to disrupt or disease a meeting? What did you mean? That's the kind of thing your facilitator is going to be up against. Another one's going to be your general manager. Your general manager posted a link on your website, which I would say is pretty much in your name, and he accused the grand jury of corruption. He accused them of purposefully deceiving the public about your finances. Now, you got a decade of running into deficits, 25%. If Ms. Galazar was here, she would confirm that. But according to your latest budget, all it talks about is your reserves and how great they are. No one here seems to acknowledge you have a budget problem. So that's what your facilitator is up against. Your facilitator is up against a group of commissioners, 4 of them, who will either allow things to be said that just aren't true and will apparently stand behind your general manager when he accuses the grand jury of corruption and of purposely lying, as if they had some agenda. Now, maybe the grand jury is part of Occupy America. We're not sure what that is. Maybe Mr. Holsinger will expand on that. But as I said, it's going to take a lot more for your facilitator to straighten this mess out. It's going to take an election. I don't know why you're doing anything prior to the election. There's no way you're going to be able to work things out between you, her, and the 4 of you if you're going to let him sit there and say she's responsible for 95% of it and let him make accusations of knife-wielding supporters that none of us know about, and I guarantee you I will be following up on. And I will be getting the police reports that were filed, and I expect to see something about a knife-wielding going on. Thank you.
There's no further public comment on this. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Mr. President, I'll move the approval of the interim payment of $15,750 to BHI Management Consulting pursuant to the contract previously entered into.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussions, questions amongst the commission?
Point of order.
Please.
We need to adopt the resolution as well.
I'm sorry, is that item 4? That's,
3,
I missed the resolution attached to that, excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry, there it is, okay. And as part of that, I'll move approval of the resolution 24-14 for that purpose.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item number 3. Any further discussion, questions by the commission? Hearing none, we have roll call, please.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brandon?
Aye.
Commissioner Holsinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Tucker? President Carabono?
Aye. Thank you. Item number 4.
Mr. President, point of order.
Please.
I request that items 4 and 5 be postponed. They need a bit more work to be done. They're not quite ready for
Okay.
your consideration.
Item 4 and 5 will be tabled. 4 and 5. Okay. Moving on to item number 6. We have an opportunity to nominate a person for seat C on the California Special Districts Association in the upcoming election. And the ballot is due by August 1st of 2014. We have the description of the ballot. We have 2 letters of interest from the incumbent and a person named Elaine Wagner. And I see that on the back page, Catherine Slater Carter is also vying for this position. So we have an opportunity to nominate one of these people for seat 3 of the California Special Districts.
I nominate Catherine Slater Carter.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve or to nominate Catherine Slater Carter for seat 3 in the California Special Districts Association. Any discussion, further comments, or
I'd like to comment.
please?
Thank you. Catherine Slater Carter is a well-respected presence on the coast, and were the seat open and no incumbent running, I would gladly vote for her for this position. We have an incumbent running, however, that's already on this particular body, and they have Harbor District experience out of Moss Landing. And so I feel reluctant and constrained to vote, if you will, against an incumbent under those circumstances in an agency that perhaps is getting to be more and more an important presence with this board. So it's my intention to abstain from this vote. I certainly wouldn't consider voting against Catherine Slater Carter, but under these circumstances, I find it hard to vote for her over and above the existing incumbent who, by this board, has not been nominated. So is not being considered, at least for this vote.
Any further discussions? Please.
Just like to say, with all due respect to Mr. Ferranti and Ms. Magner, I'm looking at this sort of from a regional perspective, and that's why I am going to vote for Catherine Slater Carter, because I think that, again, with all due respect to the incumbent as well as Ms. Magner, I think that our regional interests are important, and that's where I'm coming from.
Okay. Peter, who's our representative currently? Is the person Vincent from Moss Landing? The person that's representing us currently, is it the Moss Landing representative?
Yeah, he's the incumbent.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Ferranti.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Holsinger?
Abstain?
Commissioner Tucker? President Carabono?
Yes. Moving on to item number 7. Amendment to Harbor Master's Employment Agreement and Increment. General Manager Grinnell?
Yes. There's 2 parts to this item. First is a ministerial item or aspect of it in the sense that the recommendation is to amend Harbor Master Grindy's employment agreement to provide for pay steps. The other managers have such steps in their contracts, and so his is an anomaly, and so this would bring him in line with the past Harbor Commission approach of having steps for the manager's contracts. Just for your broader information, the represented staff in both of the collective bargaining units also have steps in pay, so that would get rid of that anomaly. The second part of this is a recommendation to approve a pay increment of 5% for Mr. Grindy. And that would then fit into step E, given that you adopt a step formula in his agreement. And that's the thing. As far as that increment goes, it's my conclusion from observing and working with Mr. Grindy that he has more than earned and deserves this increment in terms of the level and quality of his work, the incredible number of hours he puts in, and it's all in the service of the district. So that's, in a nutshell, what this is about.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the commission on item number 7?
Preliminarily, I'll move approval of an amendment to Harbor Master Scott Grindy's employment agreement to provide for pay steps consistent with and in line with all other employees who have such pay steps in their agreement at levels that are consistent with his current pay.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for item number 7. Any questions, discussion amongst the commission?
I have some questions.
Please.
So this is a contract, and the first question I have is, the harbor master is not one of our union employees. That position's not one of our union employee positions, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so it's different from the steps that we have currently with our union
The
employees.
steps are different, but there are steps.
And I'm wondering if our council could give us an analysis of the changes. I'm a little concerned. This looks a lot like it could tie the hands of a future board, and I want to understand thoroughly the, it appears there's some language here changing what happens in the event that the harbor master is no longer with the district. I want to understand that really clearly, and I think the public probably does too. So if we could get a clear explanation about that, that would be great.
If I may move the board,
Ms. Harris?
if Commissioner Brennan is talking about Section 2, that was already approved in November. So I just made those additions to the changes to the contract so you would see it. But Section 2, term and classification, was approved by the board, and I believe it was November or December of last year. I can double check, but I know it was if you looking at the contract.
Page 415.
Yeah.
Page 415.
I just wanted to.
Was my question clear enough, or do I need to rephrase it?
Your question to me?
Yeah, to council.
Yes, your question was very clear, in part because of the comment just made, and in part just because of the, I think, practice of the district. This has not been presented to me to review. I'm happy to examine it and answer your question, but I'm not prepared to do so right now, just because I have not been involved in the negotiations or the production of this document at all.
Oh, I see.
It may be that you have an outside employment counsel, so I don't mean to suggest that it has not undergone legal scrutiny, but I have not had an opportunity to look at it.
I don't believe we have outside employment counsel. Is that correct? That's a question for the general manager.
Well, we do have an employee relations and labor relations counsel. That's the firm of Lieber, Cassidy, and Whitmore. However, in terms of contract review, we have used our general counsel under some circumstances and Lieber Cassidy under others. In the past, when we have been engaged in collective bargaining negotiations, we've worked with Lieber Cassidy.
Well, clearly this is not a collective bargaining situation.
That is correct. So they haven't come into the picture. As it happens, this was developed just before Mr. Miller joined up with us, and that explains why he hasn't had an opportunity to look at this.
Section 2 is reviewed by June. Section 2 is reviewed by June.
Okay, thank you. The Section 2 question from Commissioner Brennan was reviewed by District Council Savory last year at the time the board took action on it. So that did receive legal review.
Well, I think given that we have new counsel, and if we were to get into some sort of potential situation going forward, it would be important that they essentially gave their stamp of approval on a contract that the board's being asked to approve tonight. So I would prefer, just speaking for myself, I would prefer that this be reviewed by our council before we're asked to make a decision. Our current council.
Mr. President, point of information.
Please.
It's my understanding that the only change to the contract is that appearing on page 5 of 15 under section 4 salary, and it's basically the insertion of part A. Is that correct? Is that the only change?
Yes.
Okay. I also see it highlighted on the next page for a vehicle allowance of $700. Is that an increase?
No, that was changed also a few years ago. I was just updated the contract to all the changes that had already been made.
Okay, so that's,
I wanted you to see how it looks.
so Mr. Grindy's auto allowance is currently $700?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, just to be clear here, as the recommendation states, the only changes proposed in his current agreement are stated there. One is to insert pay steps, and the other is the increment.
okay.
That's
So,
all. Everything else has been in the contract already.
Thank you.
From last year.
through the president, and with all due respect to my colleague, this is simply a matter of facilitating contract review and merit increase now, which wouldn't necessarily need this first amendment, but it actually establishes what the step levels of pay for the harbor master for the district is, and identifies a step F right now as a top, which if that were to be changed and if there were going to be an increase in the pay scale of the harbor master, would need further action of the board. So that having been said, I don't think there's any reason to delay. Mr. Grindy has been with us for over a year now, significantly, or over 2 years now, and I believe has earned this merit increase. And whether we pass this amendment now or defer it for what I think is unnecessary legal counsel review for the limited information that's being changed, I would still be moving forward to seek an increase. This particular motion doesn't seek the increase, but simply puts it in a more formal context, including a limitation that didn't previously exist in his contract for the 3-year term of his contract. So it does protect the district somewhat by putting a limitation on what the another increase might be during his contract term, absent further action of the board. So
I would like to comment in that there are changes to the contract included here, and I'm very uncomfortable with proceeding without knowing that our new council has had a chance to review the contract. I think the reason we have council is because they are here to protect the district, and I think we need to keep the district in mind and what's best for the district. And I think it's very important that we have council review contracts before we approve them. And we have just learned tonight that our council hasn't yet had an opportunity to review this contract. So I think it would be irresponsible for us to move forward, and I don't see why a delay between now and the next meeting, when our council would have an opportunity to review the contract, would make much of a difference. So I can't support moving forward with this tonight. I'd prefer to wait till our next meeting after our council had a chance to review it and could answer a couple of questions if I have any.
Commissioner Bernard.
Sure. Yeah, I would just like to say briefly that whether we approve this tonight or not, I am in full support of this, just because at the heart of this issue, in my understanding, and please staff correct me if I'm wrong, but at the heart of this issue is parity and equity, and to put the harbor master's position, put Mr. Grindy aside, the harbor master's position to be aligned with the rest of the employees of the organization. I mean, that's at the heart of this, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm mischaracterizing it, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. So fundamentally and philosophically, I support that. So I just want to say, whether we do it tonight or not, I'm going to support this. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
we have a motion seconded, and so call the question, unless you have comments.
Yeah, I have a question. I would like to ask Commissioner Red to be clear on what changes are in this contract.
We should ask council of that, and they don't know right now.
You mentioned that there were changes in this contract. I would like to understand what changes you are referring to, and that would help assist the process.
Would you like me to read all the redlined items that have been changed? Because there's a lot of redlined items in here.
Really? Interesting.
If I may, Mr. Chair, the red lines were already approved by the board. The only thing that was not approved by the board that you're asking for approval this evening is section 4 with the inclusion of the steps. Everything else the board has already approved. And on several occasions, I've been told, would you please make red line changes on documents?
Which I appreciate. I do
I tried
appreciate.
to make it easy, but I think I complicated it.
No, I think it's important that that be in there.
I just wanted to let you know, you've already approved that part of it. The changes that I've made in this with the red marks, those were already approved last year, and then, when we made the changes to the car amount.
Okay.
And it's appropriate to ask questions about changes at the time that you're reviewing a contract. And right now, we're reviewing and making a decision about a contract. So I'd like to ask council questions about it. I don't want to ask anyone that isn't our council questions about it. But unfortunately, they can't respond tonight because they haven't had a chance to review it. So I'm just asking to wait till the next meeting when they've had a chance to review the contract, so that then we know that our council has reviewed the contract.
Okay, I guess what I'm having difficulty grasp is that you said that there were changes to the contract.
There are changes.
And I'm hearing from our Human Resources Department that these changes, some changes were already approved by the commission. So what is new in this contract that's before us tonight?
As we've heard, there are changes, and I don't want to have a back and forth with you, so why don't you just call the question?
I think we need clarity on what you're asking.
Figure it out.
Whoa. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
No.
Commissioner Holsinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Tucker? President Carolina?
Aye.
And follow up with item 7, I would now make a motion to increase the salary level for Harbor Master Scott Grindy to level E, or step E, in the annual amount of $133,622.43, effective July 1 of this year.
Do we have a second for this?
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve a pay increment for a salary increase for Harbor Master Grindy. Any further discussions or comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
No.
Commissioner Holsinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Tucker? President Carolina?
Aye. Okay, at this time, we have a request by Commissioner Brennan to move agenda item 19. So we can start with, do you have the approval of support of my fellow commissioners?
Mr. President, with respect, I would ask that time available at the end of tonight's meeting, that there be an opportunity for commissioner comments at that time if we reserve, and I would so reserve.
Okay, we've had a request from Commissioner Brennan, because she mentions that she has to depart the meeting.
And I would defer to your discretion as president. I'd simply say that I don't have any requests for agenda items.
Okay.
But, and I'm not sure whether I will have any commissioner comments tonight. If I do, I'd like to reserve those to the end of the agenda.
Okay. Commissioner Brennan, on item number 19.
Okay, so I'm going to try to make it quick. I've got 4 things. The first is that the board agreed in the past to have commissioner requests for agenda items earlier in the meeting. And since that has stopped happening since February 19th of 2014, perhaps we need to have that on a future agenda to discuss again as the board. Otherwise, if you guys don't want to have it on a future agenda, then maybe we could just change it back to what we initially agreed to, which is moving it up earlier in the meeting. So I'm open to input on that, whether you'd like to just put it back where it was, or what we agreed to before, or if we need to reinvent the wheel and have the whole discussion again at a future agenda. So whatever the board prefers.
Mr. President, I would rise to a point of order. It's my understanding that the president of the board sets the agenda for each meeting, and that includes the order of the agenda. As we did under President Tucker, then President Tucker, and as we did under then President Bernardo, the order of the agenda was set by each of those, and I believe that's within your discretion and prerogative, and I don't believe it's a matter of vote by the board as to how we set that. We did not vote on doing that under President Bernardo. We had some discussion, and he asked for a sense of the board, and he was given that. I would simply, as a matter of order, point of order, and then defer to legal counsel if the president or anyone else wants to inquire whether or not setting the agenda is not under Robert's Rules of Order within the purview of the presiding officer.
I'd just like to point out that by having it at the end of the meeting, since we have a hard stop at our meetings, which was something that the board voted on, there are times when we don't finish our entire agenda, which means that if we have agenda setting at the very end of the meeting, we will not always reach that item. Therefore, commissioners will be prevented from placing items on a future agenda. And it's my understanding that that is not acceptable or, I don't know, legal. So maybe we need to have our counsel come back with an opinion on how to handle that, since we don't seem to be able to do it ourselves. And I'm going to move on to the next thing. So I'll just leave that there. The next thing is, I understand that there is a fish buying fee audit that's been going on for some months now, and the board has not received an update on it. So I move that we get an update on the fish buying fee audit at a future meeting. I'm not suggesting that has to be the next meeting, but I think we need to know what's going on with that audit. I made a motion.
Oh, is that a motion?
I believe this is for agenda setting. In the past, when Commissioner Brennan has asked for something to be put on the agenda, it's been directed to the president of the board at that time as a request for information, and staff has typically acceded to the request for information. I hear no motion here. I hear a request for information.
I just said I move. I move is a motion.
Is there a second on this motion?
I will second an informational report. It's an correct? I just want to be very clear
That's
what
all.
we're trying to do. Okay,
Yeah.
It's an informational report on this, the status of, I'm sorry, please, the status of,
Of the fish buying fee audit.
okay. I would second that informational report, an update.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Holsinger?
No.
Commissioner Tucker? President Farabano?
Abstain.
Point of order.
Please.
Where we have a quorum of 4 present, and where the vote is 2 for, 1 against, and 1 abstention, what does that do with the motion?
You're looking at me, are you addressing that question to me?
Yes, counsel.
Yes, I believe you need a vote of 3 and that the motion does not pass.
Thank you.
Point of order. Could you please double check that, because we got some different information from our past counsel, so I just like clarification.
I'd be happy to. I can share with you that this is a question that I had myself, because your enabling legislation, unlike many special districts, does not answer this question. And so the question is a little bit ambiguous, and the answer I gave you is consistent with what I was advised by your former general counsel, which is partly why I have some comfort in providing that answer. So I will double check, because I wanted to make sure that it is consistent with the district's past practices. I would not it's not my intent to change what you're doing, so the purpose of my, not the purpose, the goal of my last answer was to be consistent with your past practices.
Well, if you could just get to the bottom of it, that'd be great.
I will for sure. It's a good question.
Because in the past, Gene has made the decision that that particular voting scenario that we had would have meant that the motion passed. So, and there are minutes that would indicate that. But anyway, we could, you can look back and find
As long as
that.
you asked me, could I clarify what exactly it is that you have moved on? I mean,
I made a motion, I know this is strange, but at this special district, our board in the past decided that we cannot put anything on a future agenda unless the board votes to do that. You might want to look into whether or not that's appropriate too. So what we're doing, I know it might seem kind of ridiculous, but what we're doing is we're voting on whether or not a commissioner is allowed to put something on a future agenda.
Understood. So,
Okay.
and I certainly don't mean to imply anything is ridiculous. My question was whether your motion was to agendize an item or you're moving to request staff provide you with a report.
Well, the motion was to have staff place a report on a future agenda. So
Understood.
it's both of those things.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. First, I have to ask a question before I can make the motion. We hired a consultant. This is a question for the general manager. That consultant, we've already paid a substantial amount, and I believe they're still doing work, to come up with a review and a report of fish fine fees throughout California. This is a question for the general manager. What was the name of that consulting firm?
David Dornbush and Associates.
Dornbush. And are they still working on that?
They are.
Okay. So my motion is that we, as a board, receive an update regarding the work of Dornbush, or whatever they're called, and Associates, so that we are aware of what information they've obtained to date. It's hard to imagine that they're not finished yet, but maybe we could just get an update. And then also what the costs of this research is to the district. At this point, the district has not been made aware of what they've been asked to do or what the costs are, and I think we need to know about those things. So if I can shorten that, if it's not clear to you guys.
Point of order, Mr. President. This is substantially the same as the last motion for requesting an informational report. It's the same exact item.
It's not.
And I would, as a result, object to it being considered.
So
My point is that it's out of order because it's already been discussed, it's already been rejected, and we now need to move on to agenda setting, which is the only reason why we've advanced this rather than.
this is a request for, when it's my turn, through the chair.
Please.
This is a request for an agenda item, and Commissioner Holsinger may not be aware of this, but the firm that's doing the fish fine fee audit is a separate firm from Dornbush, whatever they're called. So we're talking about two completely different, one's a consultant and one's a auditor. So these are two completely different companies. They have nothing to do with each other. So these are two completely different requests for updates from staff for a future agenda item.
And through the president, I would acknowledge Commissioner Brennan's clarification on that point. It was my error in understanding, so I do not disagree with her. It is a separate item, although my position on this one remains the same as with the other one. So I apologize for my misunderstanding. Thank you.
Is that a motion?
That was a motion. I can restate it if I need to make it shorter.
Okay, I will second an informational report. That's an informational report, correct?
Yes.
Update, or status update, whatever you want to call it.
Status update on a future agenda.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gerardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Holsinger?
No.
Commissioner Tucker? President Caravano?
Abstain.
Okay. Update. I'd like to make a motion that we receive as a board an update from the Harbor District General Manager on the California Maritime Infrastructure Bank Authority. Apparently, well, I won't get into discussion. I think as a board we need to receive an update on the bank authority and specifically why the California Maritime Infrastructure Bank Authority has operated for years out of the San Mateo County Harbor District's office in South San Francisco. I am receiving a lot of questions about that from the public. It's been written about in the newspaper. The July 2nd, 2014 edition of the Half Moon Bay Review has an editorial titled, "We Need to Know More About Bank Operating at Harbor District." So I think it would be helpful for everybody if we could get a report on this. So that's my request, and that's a motion.
What is your, could you please shorten and clarify your motion?
My motion is that we get an update from the general manager about the California Maritime Infrastructure Bank Authority that allegedly has been operating out of the Harbor District's office according to that bank's website.
Did we have a second?
I will second a brief informational report. This is like I'm sorry, and I'm saying it hesitatingly because I'm looking at our agenda already, and there's like already several informational reports, and I don't want to kill staff with just so much informational. I mean, our entire agenda could be all kinds of informational reports. So if it's brief and hopefully it's not too time intensive, I would support that. Like a paragraph, something like just a quick update paragraph. I would support that. I would second that.
Does the motion maker approve that?
That's fine with me.
Any further discussion, questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Holsinger?
Abstain.
Commissioner Tucker? President Caravano?
Aye. Motion carries. Anything else?
I had one other, but I'll just pass for today. And thank you, and I wish I could stay for the whole meeting, but I have to go to a family birthday event.
Okay, moving on, item number 8. Removal of 5 vessels from Oyster Point Marina. Harbor Master Grindy.
Yes. As you're aware, through the Department of Coding and Waterways, we work to get money every year for vessel destruction of vessels that have been abandoned or other at the harbor after things have been sold or attempted to be sold on lien hold sales, etc. We have a few boats that need to be disposed of, and we're using the approved vendors through that funding source and asking for approval for that. And it's a total of 5 vessels, and these are at Oyster Point. And you will be seeing, as the year continues, more of the same, just different locations. It'll probably be Pillar Point next, and then back to Oyster Point.
Okay, thank you. What's the pleasure of the commission?
I have a
Please.
question. How much of the $38,000 proposed cost is being paid for through grant funding from the derelict vessels program?
All.
Thank you. Move approval of authorization of $38,000 in entering into the contract for destruction services with San Diego Boat Movers for the 5 vessels at Oyster Point Marina Park, subject to the grant funding.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve item number 8. Any further discussions, questions from the commission? Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Tucker? President Caravano?
Aye. Thank you. Item number 9, Oyster Point Marina occupancy increase incentive proposal.
I think that's me again.
Yeah.
This is something first off, I should say, if you take a look at the dashboard that I include in my monthly reports, you'll see that Oyster Point Marina is typically around 60 to 70% occupied year-round. And what I'm looking at is trying to find a way to fill the marina with good paying customers and good boats. And so the intent here is, this is a incentive program I used up north. They worked really well. And you're not really lowering the price in the long haul. What you're doing is you're benefiting a new boater that comes to the area. And also the benefit is to a boater who may also be at that marina location who says, hey, you're my friend, come on over with your boat to this location. And the basic conditions are, as long as they both pay their bills properly for a year, it's $1 for the 13th month. And it's a great way to for the boaters to be incentivized without being a very toxic, cost-lowering program. And it also builds a lot of teamwork because people are all working together to find more people in.
Any questions, comments? Commissioner Burt?
Yeah, I have a question.
Please.
Is there a limit to the number of low-cost months that an existing berther can get if they brought in 50 boats? Do they?
I would actually hope they did.
They lined up 50 boats that all were good-paying berthers for a full year. Would they end up with 50 months?
I don't see a reason for restricting that person who's smart enough to bring in all their friends from a different location. That's actually a very positive thing.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bernardo.
I just say, I love the idea. I love it. I mean, you're thinking creatively. I love it. I totally support it, and I know that in the commercial real estate world, they do this type of thing where they say, okay, you could have the first, 2 months free or whatever.
Right. And what's beautiful about this, they have to go for a whole year to get that 13th month for $1.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great way to go.
Thank you. I'm going to support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the pleasure of the commission? Oh, please, General.
Just to add something. There's precedent for this kind of thing at the Harbor District. We have had in place for some years now a different incentive program, but it's related in that a berth holder can pay his entire year's berthing fees in advance and get 1 month free. The purpose of that is to improve the district's cash flow, bringing money in up front and also getting interest off it. And so again, these kinds of things are all part of an attempt to generate more revenue through more occupancy.
What's the pleasure of the commission?
I move that we authorize general manager to issue a notice of occupancy increase incentive, proposal Part A and Part B, as noted in this memo.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item number 9. Any further discussions or questions by the commission? The roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 10, modification of hours of operation for Oyster Point. Harbor Master Grindy.
It's pretty clear we're trying just to reduce the hour of the park. Presently, as you're aware, the bait shop is closed, the fishing pier doesn't have much occupancy at night, but we want to close it down a little bit earlier. It's more secure, more safe. It takes some time sometimes to clear out the park. That's the other part of it here. And I prefer staff do that than the security service.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Bernardo.
Through the chair. Thank you. So what I'm hearing is this is for sort of a cost savings also for the district.
A little bit, but it's more of just... It's
safety issue.
I'm more concerned with the safety.
Safety issue.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to get at the heart of it. So I'm hearing, because I'm hearing safety, I'm hearing maybe cost because of security.
It's more safety than anything.
Okay, thank you.
Or safety and security.
Mr. President,
Please.
if that's your pleasure, I'd move the adoption of Resolution 2114 to authorize the harbor master to set the Oyster Point Marina park hours for general public use from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item number 10. Any further discussion or questions by the commission? Hearing none, can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Romero?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan? Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
Commissioner Tucker? President Carvana?
Aye. Thank you. Item number 11 is informational report on the Pillar Point Harbor Patrol mid-year search and rescue data.
Yes, this is just a simple informational report that we put together internally, and I wanted to share that. It's hard to put this into the dashboard when it's not collected all the time regularly. We have to go through all the reports and pull it together. And staff do a great job of tracking it, and I just want to make sure you're aware that we do that as well. I'll take any
Yeah.
questions.
To the chair.
Please.
All right. I just want to thank staff. I know that, again, in terms of just extra work, I know this is yet another thing that you're going to have to do. So I thank you for doing this. It makes it very easy for me to just see at a glance where we are with search and rescue. So thank you, because I know it's added work.
Thank you.
What's the pleasure of the commission? Item
No
number-
action.
Oh, no action. Item number 11. Item number 12, the status report on the bills and claims for the period from June 19th, 2014 through July 15th, 2014. Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, yes. Mr. President, at the June 18, 2014 Board of Harbor Commissioners meeting, as a result of the canceling of the early July 2014 board meeting, the board authorized and approved staff to pay up to $395,000 in bills and claims for standard expenses in the interim. I've reviewed the bills and claims paid during that time in the amount of $330,664.68 and find those to be all in order and commend them for affirmation and approval by the board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item number 12.
Point of order, Mr. President,
please.
no action is necessary
You're right.
because this is a status report on a prior approved action.
I apologize. I thought it was.
I take my second back.
Thank you.
We were on autopilot on that one.
There we go.
Okay, we're moving on to the consent calendar. We have item 13 and 14. Item 13 is the minutes of the June 4th, 2014 meeting. And item 14 is the surplus and disposal of a Dodge pickup from Pillar Point Harbor. With the pleasure of the commission.
I move that we approve consent calendar for items 13 and 14.
I believe no motion is necessary unless, and that they are adopted and approved unless there's an objection. Is that correct?
I think we have to approve the consent calendar.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I'm happy to go ahead and go
Second.
forward with that. Yeah, second.
A second. We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Discussion, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan? Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
Commissioner Tucker? President Carvana?
Aye. Okay, before we move on to staff reports, I have a public comment that was given to me after the agenda item was announced by the commission. And I would ask that to keep these meetings orderly and organized, that we adhere to the order of the agenda as published and issued in the agenda. So having said that, I would like to call Mr. John Olam to the podium.
Well, else for public comment, I squeezed it into number 3. Appreciate it. So thanks.
Okay. Okay, hearing that, we can move on to staff reports, starting with the general manager.
Yes, you have the written report. I'll take any questions on that.
Any questions for the general manager?
Just on West Trail, in terms of interfacing with the Coastal Commission for the emergency repair permit. Do we have that permit in hand for the emergency repairs yet, or what's the status of that?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah. It was my understanding that there was a Phase 1 emergency repair partial permit by the Coastal Commission for some erosion repairs
Oh, yes,
at
yes,
West
I'm
Trail.
sorry. Yeah, okay.
And so-
I misheard.
Your report doesn't tell us where we are specifically in that Phase 1 permit process or in the work being done.
Right, yeah, I can give you a little update on that. Basically, we are awaiting word back from the Coastal Commission. We have provided them with and through our engineers the basic construction repair plan for which we would need the permit. And the Harbor Commission, the Coastal Commission is now reviewing that. Basically, we had asked, indeed, for an emergency permit. We had been told that probably we couldn't get an emergency permit, but they might be able to expedite the process of approval. But we still needed to give them something to respond to. And so we have been able to do that. And again, just for the benefit of those who aren't that familiar with it, we have this whole trail link from Pillar Point Marsh on out and our parking lot on out to the so-called Mavericks Beach. There is a section within that that is more seriously eroded, and so we have asked for permit approval to immediately repair that area so that we can keep the whole trail open. We would then come back to them with a second permit request to deal with the entire trail improvement. And the proposal that we made to the Coastal Commission staff is, in addition to completing any other repairs to the trail and the embankment that supports it, we would also be proposing resurfacing the trail, but keeping it unpaved. There are plenty of treatments that are not pavement to keep that more natural type of surface, and we are well aware that there's great public interest in maintaining it in that way, and so we've agreed to that. So that's item 2. Item 3 would be obtaining and placing a new restroom to replace the portable toilets that are out there now. And then finally, improvements to the parking lot. Again, no pavement, but other kinds of treatments. In the course of doing all that, we'd be applying for grants, access grants for the actual trail surface and parking lot improvements, a different grant for the restroom. We've identified the sources. So that's the total project. And the key here, again, for purposes of those who are unfamiliar with the process, the Coastal Commission doesn't like to do projects in little pieces. They want to see the whole thing so they know that they're not going down a path that could lead to problems later. So we've said, here's the whole extent of the project. Right now, we must do this first phase to keep the thing open, which of course they have a direct interest in because it's public access. Then we will come back to them immediately with the rest of the whole project.
So we need a Coastal Commission permit to do the emergency initial repairs, is that correct?
Correct.
And we've submitted an application for that permit and provided all the information they need so far as we know.
That is correct.
So now we're waiting for a response back from the Coastal Commission on this interim temporary repair, is that correct?
That is correct. Now, in addition to that, we need a couple of other approvals. We need approvals, and this is just standard procedure. We went through it on the boat launch ramp dredging. The Corps of Engineers Regulatory Branch, the Regional Water Quality Control Board, and the State Lands Commission. We all need sign-offs from them, and our engineers are working on those. But the real key is the Coastal Commission, and we're well along with that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question for the General Manager?
I do, sorry.
Please.
Just really quickly, briefly, We had a strategic planning meeting recently. What can someone provide me with just a quick update how it went?
Yes. And before I do, I will apologize for not providing anything up till now, because on Friday, we're having another update meeting with our consultants, and I was planning on bringing something a bit more substantial. But for now, since you've asked, here's what happened. As part of the strategic planning process, the strategic business plan process, the consultants have established a whole sequence of events aimed at maximizing public engagement and involvement. Step one is an initial public meeting to introduce the whole project process. That just took place on the 10th of July in Princeton. It was a well-attended meeting. There was a lot of public comment. There were a number of people who expressed great interest, concerns about certain things, wanting to make sure that the process deals with those issues. And so that was just the kind of, excuse me, just the kind of input and feedback that the consultants are looking for, so that they can focus on those kinds of things and make sure that they're not ignored, number one. Number two, a major thing that emerged from that first meeting, which the consultants will now do a little course correction, fine-tuning of their process, is to ensure that there is, at least on the coast side, and I'll explain what that means in a minute, that there is going to be more opportunities for basically group input and discussion. That came out of that meeting. In other words, there are certain groups, there are also experiences that the citizens have gone through with the county's planned Princeton process, the comprehensive Princeton planning effort that's underway in parallel. And the county has done some good work in arranging some of those things. A number of the citizens remarked on that and said, this is a nice way, we like this. Can we see more of that? And so the consultants are looking at that, they're sensitive to that, and we anticipate doing more of that. So that's that. Now, the reason I mentioned Coastside is because there will now be a second introductory meeting on this side of the hill relative to Oyster Point Marina and the city of South San Francisco and North Peninsula. That meeting will be scheduled as quickly as we can after Harbor Master Grindy and I meet with the city manager and staff on the 23rd, because there's a number of issues to go over with him, especially the linkage between the city and the Harbor District on our strategic business plan. So once that comes out, we'll be reporting on that whole thing as well.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing then, to sort of summarize what you just said, is a lot of the discussion focused on, my impression with what you just said, is more of process and procedure rather than actually substantive issues kind of related to harbors and things like that. It was more process and procedure.
Right.
Okay.
In time, that other stuff will come out, but now it's how is this going to proceed?
That's what people are more focused on, is process and procedure.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. I have a better understanding. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Director of Finance.
You have her report.
We have a report.
I'll take any questions, I'll take it
And Human Resources, Ms. Harris?
You have my report, I'll take any questions.
I have a sort of a collective question. I'll direct it to you, Marietta, Ms. Harris, if I may. I don't see on your report or on the Finance Director's report anything about responding to Public Records Act requests. Does that mean we haven't had any in a while, or does that mean there have been some, but not as significant in the volume that we've had?
We haven't had any in a while. So
Okay.
they have them.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay, moving on to operations, Harbor Master Grindy.
You have my report. One error I did find in my own typing here, under construction of Pillar Point, the Catch Kitchen, I said I would be bringing back to the board for approval for this one small sewer line that we have to repair in the Catch restaurant. I probably won't be bringing it for another month or two. It's more, that work won't be done till after the Christmas holiday. So it's a
Okay.
little early to go out to bid for it.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Picking up on item number 19, any requests from commissioners or statements and requests?
I do have
Okay,
some things I'd like to comment upon.
okay.
First of all, I would like to be the first to welcome you, Mr. Paravana, as President of the Board of Harbor Commissioners. It is now just a little, it's about 7:30, and this is one of the fastest meetings that I've seen in 2 years. So, congratulations. But I want to direct my comments in two different ways. One for our new legal counsel, and then one about the strategic planning, and I'll start with legal counsel. Welcome. I previously discussed with you what was part of your proposal, which is the training programs that your firm provides for elected officials in all the different public agencies that you represent. And I want to invite you at the earliest opportunity to provide us with a calendar of the presentations or training programs that your firm is going to be doing that would be at no cost to the commission, no cost to the Harbor District, both for commissioners and also for senior staff. And I look forward to seeing that. That having been said, I'd like to make specific request either that you have training and informational programs either just for our district on selected occasions that you'll schedule with the President Paravano, and with the General Manager, Peter Grinnell, specifically on a couple of items. One is Public Records Act and how we deal with requests. This district was inundated with Public Records Act requests last year in a way that I believe is unprecedented, and found ourselves struggling as to how to deal with them in an appropriate manner, as well as dealing with the sheer volume. And so I believe that it would be helpful for us as a board, and helpful for senior staff as well too, and also helpful for the public to have an understanding about how that process goes, what the law is, and what they can expect from the district in terms of complying with the law. And frankly, I'd like to put you up there at the podium with the camera pointing at you and having you explain it to all of us.
So, first of all, thank you. I remember you asked me this question. I can share with you a list of the trainings that were offered in the last year that are the kinds of things that you're asking for, just so the Commission knows. So these are events to which you would all be invited at no cost. Trainings on Brown Act, government ethics, social media, design immunity, Title VI, ADA, construction law, real estate, water law, environmental law, update on new labor law, employee benefits issues, including the Affordable Care Act, specific seminars on pension reform, tax law impacts on retirement plans, sustainable investing, public benefit corporations. So that's the list. That just gives you a flavor of the kind of things that have happened in the last 12 months. And I will be happy to provide you all with a calendar, and depending on your wishes, you can be on more mailing lists than you may choose to be on, but you'll have that option to choose both individually and as an agency. Right. And I welcome the chance to provide specific trainings on, you mentioned one example of the Public Records Act, at your pleasure. I will stand if you'd like me to stand. I can stand, and you can put the camera on me, and we can do that anytime you like. Good. That is certainly within the kinds of things that we do routinely, and at your pleasure.
And as I said, I defer to the president and to the district manager about the scheduling of that and about doing it in a way that minimizes any additional cost to the district. I'd also like to add in there, besides the Public Records Act, the Brown Act. And you mentioned something earlier today, or earlier this evening, when you were questioned, that our public agency doesn't have any enabling legislation or documents as to the how we conduct the order of our business, Robert's Rules of Order, or whatever it is we might do. And so again, I would commend you to confer with the president and the district manager as to what is an appropriate and reasonable way to conduct that, perhaps even doing it in a way, once there is any clarity about how the president wants to run his meetings, to let the public know, so that when the public comes, they can be guided by that as well and have reasonable expectations. Okay? So
Welcome the invitation, and I will look forward to working with the general manager to provide
Thank you.
the right response.
Thank you. And I would also then like to comment on the strategic planning session that Lisa Wise and Henry Pontarelli did at the Oceana Hotel recently. I attended that. I made a point of being silent the entire time because I was there to listen to the public. I wanted to hear what the public had to say, and my perception was that the public was expressing a sense of frustration at a feeling that they hadn't been heard by the Harbor District Board of Commissioners. And to the extent that they have that sentiment and it's well-founded, I would like to change that to the extent that they have that sentiment because they haven't been here before. And there were over 70 people there, most of whom haven't been to a Harbor Commission meeting in the time that I've served, the 2 different times that I've served. And it was a wonderful turnout, wonderful participation. But to the extent that there was a sense of frustration, it's seeming not to be heard, again, I believe it was a matter of wanting good process. And I commend that. They seem to want to have stakeholders that met from different interests collectively together in roundtables to synergize and share ideas and to discuss, and so that they could make clear to the district the things that they felt were priorities and the things that they would like to see and not see. And I encourage that process, and I look forward to attending the next one as well, too. And I just want to let my colleague, Commissioner Bernardo, know that I think it was a very productive process.
Thank you. Thank you. And just, thank you. Very briefly, I just would also like to welcome our new council. Welcome aboard. And also welcome and thank our new president. And yes, this is a very fast meeting, relatively speaking. And I want to thank you for the efficiency by which you led this meeting. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. My comments are embedded in Harbor Master Grindy's report is this newsletter entitled The Ebb and Flow. It's the San Mateo County Harbor District newsletter for July and August. And it highlights the activities of the staff and some of the projects that are ongoing at the Harbor District. So please pick this up, and there's an address here that you can email to the newsletter staff for any comments or stories that you would like to have included in the next newsletter. So thank you, Harbor Master Grindy, for
That's on our website as well.
for doing this. Okay. And lastly, I would like to thank Commissioner Bernardo for his term as presidency during the last year. I really appreciated your strength, your leadership, and support for everyone at the Harbor District.
Thank you.
So I've learned a lot from you, and I really appreciate that. So with that in mind,
Move to adjourn?
Second.
we have a motion to adjourn and a second to adjourn to August, I believe it's August the 4th, August the 6th over in Half Moon Bay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The meeting's been adjourned. Thank you all for coming.